Today we are joined by Keegan Hirst, pronouns he, him. Keegan was the first openly gay English rugby player, and Keegan is a renowned LGBTIQ+ speaker and the founder of Gay Man's Coaching. He is truly redefining the gay community and empowering people to live happier and healthier lives. Keegan, I can't really do a better intro than that. Like, what beautiful work.
Oh, that was a good one, yeah, thank you.
So Keegan, ask everyone, who were you before the world told you who to be?
Just a little northern gay boy, I think, would probably be the easiest way to sum me up. I've always loved helping people. I've always loved putting myself out there. I like to be the centre of attention as well. I would be certainly before people told me that I shouldn't be. I think if I look back at any of old photos and videos of me before I kind of was thrust into the world, quite out there, quite vocal, which I feel like I've got back to as I've gotten older. I've got a lot to say. I don't know how much of it is worth listening to, but I've certainly got a lot to say.
Well, I think who's not followed your journey? I'm trying to remember where I felt. I've been following you for years, and I always just remember thinking how brave you were, and you really were leading before anyone else was, and that's why I was so desperate to have you on here. So, for anyone who doesn't know your story, like, can you sum it up a little for us?
So I play rugby league. There's two kinds of rugby. There's rugby union, rugby league. I was the first British rugby league player to come out, and it came out in 2015. I was 27 years old at the time, so middle of my playing career. Obviously, Gareth Thomas had come out before. He came out in rugby union, but weirdly, I never connected the dots really. But before that, I got married. I had 2 children. Basically, I tried very, very hard to be straight. I've got a tribal tattoo that I've been trying to get rid of for years, which I got when I was about 16 because I was so desperate to be straight. So my sexuality was something that I really struggled with for a long time. Growing up through the 90s at school, left school 2004. So all Section 28 was in while that was going on. Something that I wasn't aware of at the time, obviously, and. Growing up in a little town in the north, in Yorkshire, just south of Leeds, a town called Batley, which is where Fox's biscuits come from. So I'm in a steamed company. It was one of those small towns where everybody knows everybody's business, and you should be grateful for any opportunities that come your way, and you don't want to rock the boat. People didn't like people who rock the boat. And yeah, there was, I'm 6'4". I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. And growing up, people were gay. The only kind of representation there was Boy George, was Elton John, was people like that, and which is fine. It's just not something I necessarily related to, or we certainly didn't feel comfortable relating to on a public level anyway. If I ever saw Louis Spence on TV, I'd always turn it off just in case people saw in me what was in him, which is something that I used to be really ashamed of. Now it's something that I'm really proud of, it's something that I think is amazing that people are able to do that. But it took me a long time. I kind of had to hit rock bottom to be able to get there. I struggled with my sexuality, and it impacted my mental health. So drugs, drink, work, or to do anything to kind of numb myself and not have to sit and think about who I was. And that obviously contributed massively to the end of my marriage. And then with that bit of distance, I got some perspective, and I was able to look back at that and actually look at some of the causes of that. And rather than me just not being an ass, there was something fundamentally there that was contributing massively. And then I had to go about essentially rebuilding my life from scratch and telling people where I was at, including my wife. My children were only very young at the time, so it was all quite, vague. Then they were 3 and 7. They're 16 and 12 now, so I've come out to my son about 5 times. But yeah, and then it kind of went from there, and I was still playing, and I had to kind of manage we kind of been thrust into the spotlight, and things, you know, it wasn't something that I was expecting at all. You know, rugby league's only a small sport, so it kind of, yeah, it threw a few curveballs at me, but it's landed me where I'm at, and I actually like where I'm at, so it's been worth it.
That's wonderful to hear. How was it received by the rugby league?
Honestly, really, really well. Really, really, really well. Players, you know, the players, I was captain at the time. I was worried, you know, if I was going to, find myself off the team sheet, and, you know, people not listening to anything, but absolutely wasn't the case. I didn't even get any stick from, you know, opposition players, which it would be very easy to, but I never did. My coaches were great. The chairman of the club were great. The fans was great. Even, you know, fans of other clubs as well. I think I maybe heard two things in my entire, you know, I played another 7 years after I came out. So, you know, it's to say that I only heard two things in all that time, and it weren't particularly bad, if I'm being honest. You know, I'm sure they would have brushed it off as banter. So, and that's the way I took it as well. So, you know, I couldn't have asked it to go down better. And you know, it was well received in the public as well. Like I say, like away from rugby as well. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there were a few things in there that were difficult to deal with. I was going through a divorce. I had kids, and there were, you know, you're always going to get trolls and things, you know, people opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got them, and they usually stink. So it was, you know, there was things to deal with in that respect, but over, you know, by and large, especially compared to how some people get it, you know, I had a lot easier ride than I'd built up that I would have.
Yeah. So game hands coaching, I'm guessing that came from an influx of probably a lot of people reaching out. Is that naturally like how it began?
So Gayman's coaching came from, as I said, I've always tried to, I've always been quite big on education. The only reason I didn't go to university was because I was in the academy at rugby, and, you know, my rugby career got in the way of my education. I've always enjoyed school, always enjoyed learning, particularly things that you know, I've found interest. You know, I found interesting, which is the same for most people. That sounds obvious, but and when I was full time at Wakefield, people might not realise this, but full time athletes have a lot of time on their hands. You know, you can only train so much, and then it becomes counterproductive. So you have a lot of time on your hands. So while I was full time, I did all my coaching badges and became qualified as a PT and a coach, and did all the various levels of that. And I started doing that on the side. I started just coaching, and it was just generic coaching, because I'd not really thought about anything now. But because I had a lot of, you know, my following was predominantly gay men, not all my following is, but predominantly, when people, you know, when I was coaching people and people were reaching out to me, they were, you know, gay, bi, and trans men. And with that came, you know, the usual challenges that everybody has around getting fit and looking after themselves. But there were also very specific challenges that were only, you know, prevalent in, you know, the LGBT community. And so I thought, do you know what? I'm going to gear this up so that it can do more than just be I've never kind of, the fitness industry gets some things right and it gets a hell of a lot wrong. Yeah. And the pressure and things that it puts on people before and after pictures of, you know, just dieting down and making people feel like crap, is something that I was really, really passionate against, and something that we always used to say at rugby was the reason that we'd always get haircuts and things before games is make sure you had nice boots, and we would always say look good, feel good, play good. And I thought, you know what, I think that's actually prevalent across all areas of life. And what I thought people were doing, was especially in the fitness industry, is they were looking good but they were feeling crap and they weren't playing at all, you know, in any areas of life. So I thought that's what that's what is going to be different about GMC is it's not just, we want you to look good. Who doesn't want to look good? Some people say, oh, it's shallow, it's this, it's that. But, if someone says that they don't want to feel sexier and look sexier, then I just don't believe them, because we all do.
Good feelings normally follow, don't they? I'm an expert.
Yeah.
Good feelings follow.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I get it totally. So can I just ask, how did you feel when you started living finally in your authentic self? You've got through to the other side. Like, what was that feeling like?
Well, I mean, I think what's important to remember is that it's not like you wake up one morning, you've decided to do it. It's a gradual thing. Obviously coming out initially, there was a sense of relief with that. But then there was, you kind of think that once you come out, oh, you're done then, but you still have to get comfortable in your own sexuality and realize who you are and what you're about, and you kind of have to kind of peel back the layers that you've been using to cover up to fit in, and it was so that has taken time. It's taken years. It's taken therapy. It's taken reading. It's taken conversations. It's taken making a lot of mistakes as well. If social media would have us think that life is like a this shiny veneer, and it's really not that. But I would like to think that now, 9 years after coming out, I'm at a point where I am living there or thereabouts, very much authentically in life on my terms, and it's very freeing, in the sense of not having that expectation and that pressure on from other people. I think that sometimes it can be difficult as well. It can make you go, it can make you think, why do I bother? When, especially the world that we live in, especially how things are right now, it can feel that people are obtuse on purpose, and people choose to miss the point, and want to be outraged by everything. And it would be easy to stay quiet, and it would be easy to conform, and it would be easy. Sometimes it would be easy to, but because I've done that and I spent so much of my life doing it, and I know how miserable I was, and I know that it's not worth that. But I'm also, reminded often why people do it. But yeah, it's very freeing. It's very liberating. Something I'm proud of is being able to do that and set an example to my kids as well. Because I think, we live in, just in any walk of life, role models lead by actions, as to quote Emmeline Pankhurst, deeds not words. So I think, being able to walk the walk as well as talk the talk is something that's really important. Like integrity is something that's really important to me, which again is something that I abandoned to fit in. And so I suppose there's like an overcorrection, and then it kind of swings back to where it should be.
Yeah. I feel like now it's all kind of like a getting back to who you truly are, like unmasking a bit. And yeah, it's the wonderful thing that I get to chat about on podcasts all the time. It's just people coming home to themselves and being who they always probably should have been when society starts expanding its mind a little bit. So Keegan, if I was going to say you can have whatever day you want, but living completely in your rawest authenticity, what kind of things are you going to do? Like what truly brings you joy?
Well, there'll probably be some kind of walk in nature there. I'm very lucky. I live in West Yorkshire. There's lots of hills and fields and forests and things. So probably taking the dogs for a walk, doing something with the kids. Not too much though, because we probably end up bickering. I know this is gonna sound really cliche. I do really enjoy my work. So being able to chat to people, help people. I'm one of those people sometimes I'll complain about probably having a moan of being there as well, if I'm being brutally honest about me being authentic. I like to have a whinge, but I like to have a whinge about the things that I like doing. I love helping people, but I also like moaning about loving helping people. So being able to have those kind of conversations, spend time with friends, family, just it's simple things, isn't it? It's spending time going for a drink with friends, having a catch up. There probably used to be some musicals involved, and having a sing and a dance. Maybe even going to the theatre, but certainly having a sing and dance at home, and just being able to be silly. I always something I read was that the most authentic version of yourself is the cringiest version of yourself. So just being able to be that silly, embarrassing version of me, and not worry about it with the people that I love. And it's not a big circle, but it's one that is very tight knit and close, and I love very much. So yeah.
I love you prioritise silliness. I'm the same, but I also love that you've included a negative emotion, or not negative, an emotion necessarily not happy. I read the other day that venting is so important. So moaning is actually a really healthy thing. Like, we need to vent, and it's like a really, really good way of processing how we're feeling. So illness comes, I'm sure you see from everything, illness comes from kind of not letting it out. So I think I'm really I'm trying to embrace moaning a little bit with the right people. I used to let myself do it. I was like, cheerful, but actually it's a really healthy thing. It's a really healthy thing.
Yeah, we used to we had this thing at rugby when we were playing that we call out false positivity, because you get happy clappers, and it's if people are overly negative, obviously that has an impact as well. But being positive for the sake of positivity, we used to say, let's live in realism. We want to operate out of realism. But yeah, I think having a moan and having a whinge it's definitely how I process things. Talk things through in my own head.
So whose self-expression have you admired over the years?
I touched on Louis Spence earlier. I would say I've never actually met Louis, but he was something. He was like holding a mirror up when I was younger, and something that I avoided. Whereas it's something that I feel comfortable with now. But I would say someone whose self-expression, how they live their life, and who's had a big impact on me personally is Anthony Cotton. When I first came out, Anthony reached out and just said, I know this is going to be a lot of like press and things that you might not be used to, and if you need a hand, I don't want anything from you. I'm just, if I can help, I will do. And that was the beginnings of a maybe unlikely friendship. Me and Anthony have been best friends for years now. We've gone on holiday. I've been at Anthony and Peter's for Christmas most years for the last 9 years. My kids call them Uncle Pete and Uncle Anthony. So he was someone who has never apologised for who he is and what he's about. To the detriment of himself as well, and has turned things down that he didn't agree with his principles and what he was about, and really challenged my own beliefs about what I thought it was to be a gay man, and what the limitations on that were. And he was someone who showed me that there are no limitations on it, and he's been a real big positive influence on me and my kids' life. But yeah, he's someone who I would definitely say is how he carries himself and what he's about is very inspirational.
How lovely to hear. I'm sure he'll love to hear that too. So I'm going to ask you
Sure he will.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you the big question now. So take a breath. What is a conversation you feel like people aren't ready to have that would only benefit us all and just move us forward as a society?
I think a conversation that I find myself having a lot with clients and with it's something that I feel like I battle against a lot on social media, and I think I don't know how to phrase it as a conversation, but I think that the topic of it is that a lot of people, sweeping statement incoming, a lot of people are happy to to give up their power to other people and just blame everything else and let, you know, it's everybody else's fault, it's the world's fault, why things are the way they are. And listen, I'm completely aware that privilege exists and different people have different levels of privilege. I completely accept that and acknowledge it. People have a lot more control over things than they often believe that they do, and they can have a lot bigger impact on their own lives and also on other people's lives as well, by just small actions, small things, and not letting the life happen to them. It's so easy to find reasons why we can't do things, why we can't have that conversation, why we can't go for that job opportunity, why we can't get in shape, why we can't ask that person on a date. It's so easy to do that. Anybody can do that. But finding solutions to that and finding a way around things is more difficult, but ultimately a million times more rewarding. And I think it's something that keeps so many people stuck, and people get in this cycle and they get so used to being stuck that it becomes a part of their identity, and it becomes, you know, those layers that we spoke about, peeling them back, it becomes really difficult to peel them back because they've spent so long believing that something is true and acting in accordance with it, when, you know, it's not an objective truth, it's a subjective one. And I think that, you know, people can have a lot more power over their own lives than they give themselves credit for, and I think that's something that people don't like to hear.
Totally. There's a book that I've just read actually called "The Mountain Is You," and really, it's
Brienne White, yeah,
it's really, really good about that kind of self-sabotage loop there. I highly recommend it. So you've got kids, Keegan. So what module do you think they should be teaching in school that they're not?
Do you know what? Like, I think they'd have figured it out by now, but just like life stuff. You know, I'm not one of these people who says, I'm not one of these people who says they shouldn't be doing trigonometry, because let them do trigonometry if they feel that that's relevant. But tell them about paying the taxes. Tell them about how voting and politics and you know, the basic principles of our voting systems, and you know, council tax, and, you know, just standard stuff that you need to be an adult, that unless, you know, you have a parent who's up to the job, you have to figure it all out yourself, and often you can figure out through making mistakes, and, you know, just basics, how to send stamps, and how the post office works. I know it sounds really simple, but no. I think it gets overlooked so much. Being a functioning adult, a functioning British adult for us people in Britain, you know, that should be on the school curriculum, I think, and I think it'd help a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. So can I also ask you, what's bringing you pleasure and joy lately? We're all about following that now, you know, like.
Yeah. Well, I bought a piano in lockdown, which sounds like it was a really small buy, wasn't it? But I've always enjoyed music, listening to it. I'd love to be able to sing. I would love to be able to sing, but I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. Like a horrendous singing voice, but I love singing on my own in the car, blasting things out. So, you know, I figured learning to play the piano was a close second. So I do enjoy tickling the ivories. I recently bought myself a PlayStation as well, to go back to, you know, what does 8-year-old Keegan want to do every so often. So sometimes that, and a really bit of a nerdy one is I enjoy chess. I really enjoy chess, which I'd kind of left alone. So getting back into that. I mean, I'm certainly no aspiring Queen's Gambit, you know, type player, but just little things like that.
Yeah, picking back up. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. So if you could be anyone for the day, who would it be? Mine's Stanley Tucci. I'd just go out for lunch and just move my hips around. What about you?
If I could be anyone for the day,
just try it out, you know.
I'd go for like, you know, if it didn't have to be a real person, I'd go James Bond. And if it did have to be a real person, then I'd just pick a James Bond actor. I think I do love a martini, although I prefer a gin martini to a vodka one. But you know, martinis, car chasers, you know, wearing nice suits.
So good.
Yeah, I think yeah. I mean, Pierce Brosnan was my James Bond growing up.
Yeah.
So I do have a soft spot for Pierce Brosnan, and I like Sean Connery obviously because he's the OG. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go James just for the day, James Bond. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it permanently. I don't think my knees and my hips couldn't handle it. But.
Bit of last wisdom. What should people do more of?
Move.
The bodies.
Move. They should move the bodies. They should try new things. Get out of the comfort zones. The comfort zone's not comfortable. So someone told me once, and I really like this analogy of a comfort zone. Comfort zone's like the parachute that stops you from hitting rock bottom, and then when you hit rock bottom, you can start rebuilding. But the comfort zone stops you doing that, and I thought that I really liked that. But I think, just try new things, meet new people, give things a go. Experiences. I think, growing up on a council estate and having a load of money, I always thought that things would make me happy. A nice car, a big house, fancy holidays, and things like that. But it's when I look back on my life and at all the times where I've been at my happiest, it's been sharing experiences with people that I love, and they don't have to be big experiences. It could, whether it's sitting and watching a movie together, or playing a board game, or going for a walk or a bike ride. Obviously there have been like holidays and trips and things that have been great, but just do experiences and meet people and share that. I think there's something really wonderful about seeing somebody else happy, who's spending time with you. I think is a really, really lovely thing. So yeah, trying new things, getting out of your comfort zone, doing things, rather than just sitting and being a spectator in life.
Totally. So we struggle sometimes with those first steps. So say you were at rock bottom right now. Someone listening is at rock bottom right now. They wake up tomorrow morning. What would be the things that you would do to just start a new day?
Just start small. Make your bed, have a shower, get dressed. I know that sounds like really obvious stuff, but start small, build momentum. Get clear on what are the 3 things that you need to do that day. Do those 3. I'd also create a to-don't list. What are things that I want to avoid doing that are going to make me feel crap? Scrolling, certain people, certain things, certain foods, certain activities. Right, I'm going to make sure that I don't do those. I'm going to focus on these 3 things, and just repeat that, and take the pressure off yourself that you have to feel amazing from one day to the next. It's a slow process, and we've all got more time than we think that we've got. I thought when I came out at 27, I thought I was coming out really late, and like life was done, which is ridiculous. But we have more time than we think that we do. So take the pressure off yourself that you have to have everything right. It's okay to not feel amazing all the time, and just slowly build things up day by day and build momentum. Ask for help. Something I wish I had done a lot sooner is ask for help, whether it was someone that I knew or even a stranger. The Samaritans exist, and there's other charities where you can call people up and just speak to somebody. I think that is so helpful. And if you're in a position where you can, mentors, coaches, like they're going to move you forward. That's what they're there for. An investment in yourself is never a bad investment. And when I'm not just talking monetarily, I'm talking time and energy as well. Make sure you're filling your own cup before you start filling other people's. I think a lot of us can be so quick to give our time and our energy away to other people, and we feel like it's selfish to give it to ourselves first. But what good are we if we burn out and we feel crap? We can't really help people from that point. So, you know, look after yourself, fill your own cup first, and know that that's not being selfish. Self-care isn't selfish. So yeah, I think that just build some momentum up and get things going, and don't try to be a hero.
Such lived wisdom. Thank you so much, Keegan. It's been a pleasure. And it's not just gay men that follow you, because you did redefine something for me through watching you over the years. I needed to see that as well, even for myself, you know. So I grew up in Cornwall. I needed to just see the kind of the normality, like you're really helping, I think, normalize what like being, you know, gay looks like, and it looks different and it looks the same and it's ordinary and it can be boring as well as wild. It's like that's what I needed to see, you know, as well. So thank you so much. You know, I really, really...
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.